Boruto Chapter 8 is here, and along with several other questions, I think one huge question this chapter may give us an answer to is who is Jura? We even got a sense of how strong he is, and most importantly, whose chakra was used to create him. We also got confirmation of the power lying dormant within Himawari, as well as what I believe will end up being the final straw in the many failures of Two Blue Vortex's very own Sisyphus character, Kawaki. In today's video, I'm going to break down Chapter 8 and focus in on some of the major implications that are worth discussing. But first, if you guys liked the video, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. Alright, let's get into it. Chapter 8 was another banger in my opinion. We got more details surrounding the other characters in the story and finally got an answer in terms of power scaling Jura. And I want to start this chapter review by focusing in on Jura, because we learned a lot more about Jura this chapter than all of the previous chapters combined. From his love of books and his reading to his apparent use of wood style. Let's start with the most basic question. Who or what is Jura? There are a number of factors that Jura could feasibly be based on. But before we get into who he's based on, let me first start by exploring what Jura is based on. Based on my own background as someone that grew up immersed in Hinduism and Buddhist practices and culture, I think it's highly likely that Jura is based on the 10 demonesses, or in Japanese, the Jura that take on the role of deities in Buddhist mythology. So what exactly is the relationship of the Jura and Jura? Well, in Japanese folklore, the Jura are supposed to have manifested as the daughters of the Japanese deity Susanoo. Yes, that Susanoo. And they end up engaging in battle to protect the shore of Tsushima Island. What's pretty widely accepted is that the 10 Rakshasi are basically deity monks that uphold the Lotus Sutra, which is one of the most influential scriptures in Mahayana Buddhism, which basically states that all individuals are capable of attaining nirvana and themselves becoming the Buddha, and that the Buddha's existence is all-encompassing and continues to exist in this world to help teach people the Dharma, or the way of life. And at some point soon, I'm going to be releasing a video where I break down how Boruto's story is related to the Buddha, and Sarada's story is related to the Hindu goddess of knowledge and truth, Saraswati, who, by the way, also goes by the name Sarada. Back to Jura though, when Jura and Hidari arrive at the village, Ino notifies Shikamaru that Sasuke has arrived. So they recognize Hidari's root chakra signature, but they don't seem to recognize Jura's. I think this rules out Kawaki, Ishiki, and Jigen entirely. So where the hell did Jura's root chakra come from? And again, here's where the name Jura, being a portmanteau of Ju Rakshasi, comes from. Ju Rakshasi being a play on the 10 demons could also be a play on the 10 demons of the original Ten Tails demon. And we get a confirmation of this when Jura point blank says that Himawari seems to have the chakra from the same Biju as him and mistakes her for Naruto at the end of the chapter. But I'll get into that later. Jura's quest for enlightenment and seeing Jura in a bookstore should not be surprising considering the material that Jura is based on. So then, based on all of the information that we've gone over here, it seems to me that the most accurate person to assume that Jura is based on is the original Ten Tails demon. Not the juvenile Ten Tails that was sitting in the Kara dimension, but the original Ten Tails that was broken up into 9 different tailed beasts. And I think that this could be a sign that Jura's arc as a villain will be temporary. If we know one thing about the Biju, it's that they love Naruto, so we can be fairly certain that if Jura is born of that Ten Tails chakra, then he's almost certainly going to get Talk no Jutsu'd by Naruto if it ever gets to that point. And I don't even think it will. In the moment where Kawaki attacks Jura outside of the bookstore, Jura seems more concerned with protecting the books than actually engaging with Kawaki. He even tells Kawaki he's not going to kill him yet before launching him into the water tower. I'm gonna get into how much of an L Kawaki took in this chapter and what that means for the story, but first, let me put a ribbon on this. Let's break down how the juvenile Ten Tails could have possibly gotten the chakra of the OG Ten Tails. The first and probably most simple theory is Ishiki and Kage Kaguya had intended to eat the chakra of that Ten-Tails divine tree, that maybe Ishiki still had some Ten-Tails chakra from before that he gave to the juvenile Ten-Tails. Another theory that could easily hold true is that maybe Ishiki had Kurama's chakra from when he fought Naruto in Baryon mode. But to me, the most solid theory here is actually the most complicated one, and that is that the juvenile Ten-Tails itself is the reincarnated form of the Ten-Tails from Naruto Shippuden. So what is my evidence here? Let's start with the fact that it's a juvenile. We don't know exactly how old it is, but we know that at the very least it's younger than the Ten-Tails that was recreated at the end of Naruto Shippuden. We know that when a Ten-Tails consumes an Otsutsuki, it turns into a divine tree, and that a chakra fruit is created. But what we don't know so far is what happens after that. Does another Ten-Tails seedling grow from the divine tree? I would assume that this is how the Otsutsuki go from planet to planet invading. They have to have a Ten-Tails for each planet, so if they're losing one to the divine tree, then they have to create a new seedling. So if that's the case, it's extremely likely that this juvenile Ten-Tails is the seedling for the chakra fruit from the divine tree that was created on the night of the Fourth Great Shinobi War. We would need explanation as to how exactly it came to be in Jigen and Amato's possession, but frankly, it's not a huge stretch to say that Jigen and Amato, being 10 steps ahead, were waiting to capture the chakra fruit, and that when it was destroyed, they set their sights on the juvenile Ten-Tails. So what does Jura being derived from the OG Ten-Tails mean, and why does that make him different from the other Shinju? Well, I think that means that Jura, being a conscious entity looking for enlightenment, is going to get a redemption or enlightenment arc at some point in the story. I don't think that they would have given Jura multiple moments of attempting to avoid confrontation and then also get a comedic moment with Hidari if their characters weren't going to be redeemed in a significant way. And it honestly might be kind of sad, especially in Hidari's case, since it's clear how early these characters are in their personal development and understanding, and of course Hidari being derived from Sasuke. Now, as it pertains to Jura's intentions, this is where I think it becomes clear that the quest to devour Naruto may not be what it appears, because Jura seems to be completely caught off guard by Himawari possessing the Biju chakra. Speaking of Himawari, I want to touch on a couple of aspects to keep in mind about the first huge moment for her in the chapter. First of all, while I think it's fair to assume that Himawari has Kurama's chakra inside of her, I don't think that she's consciously woken up this power yet. But with how quickly the battle is progressing in TBV, I wouldn't be surprised if Himawari accesses a small portion of Kurama chakra before the battle is over. Even if it's a small, tiny baby amount. If it's baby Kurama, I'll be so pumped. Many of you will recall the early concept drawing that Kishimoto shared of Sarada, Mitsuki, and Boruto, where Sarada had the Sun Mangekyo Sharingan, Mitsuki had Sage Mode, and Boruto had KCM plus 2 Byakugan. Well, it looks like Kishimoto reassigned the KCM and Byakugan powers to Himawari, which frankly I'm pumped about because it gives this story yet another interesting character that actually matters. Speaking of interesting characters that actually matter, let's talk about all of the moments with Eida in this chapter, because there are several noteworthy callouts. There's the first moment of her spying on Boruto and Mitsuki and possibly swooning. But what's more alarming is her apparent fear of Kawaki in this chapter. She's been the one confidently calling the shots in every moment we've seen her prior to now. But now she's a nervous girl with a concerned look, beads of sweat on her cheek, or is that a tear? We even see Delta basically sealing her own death certificate by crossing the main deuteragonist of the story in Kawaki. But the strangest moment of this chapter, in my opinion, is the 9-page conversation between Mitsuki and Eida, with Damon watching in amazement. There's no way that this conversation isn't hugely significant to the larger plot and these two characters at the very least. Just to put it into perspective, the length of this conversation is just under 9 pages. That's longer than the entirety of the conversations between Code and Boruto in Chapter 2. That's right, all of the setup info that we got regarding the Ten-Tails and the Code's claw grimes, and how if Code doesn't cooperate with Boruto, it's going to be the worst possible future, the parts where Boruto tells Code that killing him is easy, all of that got less pages than Eida talking to Mitsuki about love. So what does that mean? Is Eida going to fall in love with Boruto? Is she going to turn on Kawaki? Or what if Mitsuki being in love with with Eida isn't due to her Shinjutsu ability at all? What if in all actuality Mitsuki is just in love with her, and this was just the chapter that kicked it all off? No, seriously, what if we get Aidsuki, or Mitsuda, or... okay, I'm done. But it could be interesting. Watching this relationship between these two characters unfold could be really cool. Finally, I want to close on a moment that I think foreshadowed the end for at least one of these two characters. Twice now, Shikamaru and Ino have been put in the unfortunate position of being between Boruto and Boruto's would-be attacker, and both times Shikamaru has tipped Boruto off. But in Kawaki's case, I think it's extremely evident that he's already suspicious. When Shikamaru suggests that he should wait for backup, Kawaki straight up accuses Shikamaru of wanting Boruto to escape. Then, when Boruto is gone from the spot, Kawaki isn't unsure at all of what's happened here. He's convinced there's foul play at hand. How long before Kawaki puts two and two together? And now, with Shikamaru and Ino hot on his trail, it's only a matter of time before there's a confrontation of some sort. What we know for sure is that Shikamaru's face is not on the stone faces in the opening time skip, and that could be ominous. But what do you guys think? Do you think the writing is on the wall for Shikamaru? Is Kawaki done taking L's, or are we due for more humiliating defeats for our deuteragonist? What's going to happen with Jura versus Himawari? If Himawari wins, how will Kawaki live that down? Definitely get in the comments and let me know what you think. And if you haven't already, please take a second to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Alright, thanks. Toodles.